Hi everyone, it's Sarah here on January 5th. It's a very rainy, cold Saturday here in Massachusetts. I don't know about anybody else. So, my stories today are pretty short. One I'm actually not going to talk about in great detail, but I will provide you the link in the description because the article itself is pretty cool and I think well worth the read. And it is about two students, and these students are undergraduate students who were studying journalism, and they were going to a school in called Concordia University, which is in Montreal, in Canada, and they basically exposed one of the internet's biggest neo-Nazi groups. Not only did they expose it, but they actually identified the actual one of the people who was leading one of these neo-Nazi groups, one of these big neo-Nazi groups, who had been using an alias, and they actually figured out who it really was. And these students were part of a number of anti-fascist groups, activist groups. And one of the activist groups got in touch with them and said, hey, we found a bunch of information on a gaming site called Discord. And some of it was encrypted. But when you read the story, what you'll find is the students put a ton of effort into reading through, thousands upon thousands of documents and posts. These people that they were looking at were pretty bad. So, what does it say? They looked at, the students themselves looked at expensive chat logs back to August of 2016. They read like 12,000 messages. And these messages were spreading misogynistic, racist, and anti-Semitic rhetoric. And they were being celebrated for far right-wing violence. And including this guy who's been linked to killing 6 Muslim men in Quebec City. So, needless to say, these students kept at it, and they even kept going in light of the fact that many people who take up these types of stories put themselves and their families at risk, because these far-right neo-Nazi groups are or have been responsible or do target people who write about them or call them out. Inevitably, they went to a reporter at the Montreal Gazette who realized the type of story that the students had. And inevitably, they found the alias, who it really was, and they published the story. So sadly, though, when the police actually went to the address where they thought this person lived, he had already gone. He already disappeared. But I will provide you the link. It's a really interesting story. It makes me amazed at what college kids can do, and what anybody can do, and the perseverance that it took to do it, even though that they were putting themselves at risk. So I will provide the link. And then the other story, quickly, is about a woman who's 16 now. Her name is Josie Hull, and Josie Hull was a conjoined twin in, I believe, Guatemala. And her sister Teresa were brought to the United States. They had a surgery that was over 23 hours, took 50 surgeons to separate them, and they were successfully separated. But during that time, Josie, who was adopted, her adopted mother's name is Jessie Hull, and during that time had, a number of additional surgeries and extensive hospital stays. And one of the things that she realized is that, I guess for anybody, I've been in the hospital for, at least over a week during a couple times in my life. But if you have ever been in the hospital, it's pretty boring, right? Especially if you have your own room, it's boring, and there's not a lot of stuff going on other than a TV and nurses and doctors, and that's about it, right? And maybe some flowers that someone brings you. But if you were a kid, imagine having that same kind of sterile environment and nothing a lot to celebrate who you are. So she put together a nonprofit group in Los Angeles called Once Upon a Room. And what this group does is, the volunteers of this group, they basically decorate kids' hospital rooms. And they specifically decorate it, based on the child's interests. And they can also do family parties for children that have long-term stays or, long-term illnesses. And I went on their website and they have some pictures from the rooms that they do, and they're amazing. Like, they're totally amazing. It's like if you were a kid and you wanted somebody to decorate your room, like if you're totally into Marvel Comics, and it was all, like, it'd be all Marvel Comics, everything, So, the cool thing is, so they had kind of on their Facebook page, they had a note on how many rooms they decorated in 2018, and they had decorated 2,000 rooms of kids. So it's pretty cool, pretty amazing. At 16 and going through what this girl has gone through, I'm totally impressed, and I can only imagine the happiness that she brings to kids who have to be in the hospital for any length of time, and for their family members as well. So anyways, that's all I have for today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.